A supernova may be one of the most extraordinary events in the universe, but the universe is a very big place, and the extraordinary happens with great regularity. We've now observed a huge number of these events and have managed to break them down into categories based on patterns in the light they produce. Astrophysicists have built models of exploding stars that explain these properties, matching them to the mass of the original star and the process by which it exploded. We're at the point where, after just a few observations, we can understand exactly what we're looking at. Except when we can't. Today in Nature, a team of researchers is announcing observations of a supernova that it simply can't explain. In some ways, the event looks like a prosaic stellar explosion. Except it has stayed bright more than 6 times longer than it should have and experienced 5 periods of enhanced brightness that we can't explain. Different features of the supernova appear to be arising from physically distinct locations in space. And even the best model for what triggered this, something that involves a type of explosion we haven't definitively observed previously, doesn't account for all the observations. Curiouser and curiouser. This whole confused mess started rather mundanely back in late 2014. A project called the Intermediate Palomar Transient Factory uses an automated telescope to scan the skies repeatedly, comparing each new image with previous ones of the same location, so it can identify cases where something has changed, meaning there has been a transient event. It's a great way to identify supernovae, since they result in a dramatic brightening of the star that explodes. In September of 2014, the survey covered an area of sky that it had not imaged in 100 days, and it found a telltale brightening. By January, follow-up observations of the event, termed IPTF 14HLS, showed that its luminosity was similar to that at its first discovery and dominated by hydrogen emissions. This led to its classification as a type IAP supernova. A type IAP steady production of light, which typically lasts 100 days, is caused by ionized hydrogen cooling off enough to recombine with electrons, emitting light at a specific wavelength in the process. The critical temperature is typically reached at a set distance from the site of the explosion, meaning there's a steady flow of debris through this point that keeps things lit for 100 days. Before too long, however, it became clear that this wasn't what was happening with IPTF 14HLS, which remained bright well past the 100-day mark. In fact, by the time a general dimming was apparent, it was 600 days after the supernova was first spotted. Obviously, that's hard to explain by a steady flow of debris spreading out and cooling off. The other problem here is that there's no sign of an actual flow of debris. Obviously, material that gets far enough away from the site of the explosion to cool off later is moving more slowly than the material that manages that process quickly. As such, the velocity of the material that's emitting light should drop over time. Another way of looking at this is that, as the fast-moving material stops emitting light, it lets us see the slower-moving material underneath it. IPTF 14HLS again is refusing to cooperate here, as there is little sign of slower-moving materials in the debris. Over the entire 600 days, hydrogen-rich material seems to only be slowing by 25%. Iron-rich material doesn't slow at all.